This is Danny Balls had on Dr. Scott Atlas. By the way, you're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide, where they put the clips up and I deal with them. Some days it's a tooth pull, kids. If you don't recall, I did a let's see if I can find this. Yeah, here it is. I'll play this for you right now. Enjoy.
Hi there, I'm Scott Atlas, quack specialist.
Scott Atlas, quack specialist.
Today we're going to debunk some of the worst medical myths out there. You know, for America. Let's start with masks. Masks are not only
Why is this delayed so much? We have to fix this. 3, 2, 1. There we go.
effective against the COVID virus, they may be dangerous, and of course, they are a violation of your God-given constitutional rights. Not only do we suggest at the White House not wearing a mask, but we think you should have a funnel instead.
Scott Atlas, quack specialist.
Next up, social distancing. Ooh, social distancing is horrible and it's tearing apart the fabric of America. Not only do we at the White House suggest you don't socially distance, we think the only possible cure for COVID is if the entire country human centipedes themselves together. While we're on the subject of social distancing.
Yes. By the way, yes, that did say make ATM great again.
Who needs them? Not the president. We recommend exfoliating with a cheese grater right before sex. Everyone's waiting for a vaccine, but are vaccines really the cure? No! Vaccines are a tiny bit of virus. And as the president says, go big or go home. We suggest exposing yourself to the most infected person you can find. If I'd been in charge during Ebola, I would have recommended fellatio. That's right. Find someone with full-blown Ebola and give them a blowjob. Call it an Ebola job.
Scott Atlas, quack specialist.
And while we're at it, can we all agree, stop signs are bullshit? I'm Scott Atlas, quack specialist.
Scott Atlas, quack specialist.
Right. So you get the point.
Hi
that
there.
Hi there. So I'm on my way, I'm making it. So that's Scott Atlas, who was in the White House, if you'll recall. He's got a new book out, A Plague on Our House.
Mandatory?
No, I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand to be mandatory.
There's a lot of moms and dads out there who are Democrats or on the fence who are saying, I certainly hope they wouldn't mandate vaccines.
No, look, what I'm saying is that I don't think you can mandate it. But you can't say everyone has to do this. But you would, just like you can't mandate a mask.
Really, liar in chief. Joe Biden there spewing that nonsense for the past 2 years. We heard it on the campaign trail like every other.
Well, and by the way, the federal government does not mandate masks except on like airplanes and the like, which is temporary. They can't make you wear it the rest of the time. If you get off in a state and there's no masks, they don't have any right to do it at all. And by the way, the mandates are going away probably within the next 3 weeks. Get used to the idea. And as so far as the vaccine, there's only been a testing mandate. You can either get tested or you can get vaccinated. Now, when it comes to federal employees who interact with the populace, they have to get vaccinated for a lot of things so they don't spread a disease and you don't get it from the federal government, and therefore you sue the government and people can steal taxpayers' dollars because people showed up and coughed an illness into their fucking face. Or we spend all this time training a soldier to be a great pilot, and then one of his buddies who works in the ground crew doesn't believe in vaccines, and we've wasted $21 million on a dude who dies on a ventilator. So
He said no mandates. You can't mandate it. But we all see.
Well, they didn't. They mandated the tests.
All this major government overreach, whether it's from a city mayor or a Democrat governor or
Federally, you can't mandate these kind of things. cities and states can do whatever the fuck they want. And you guys used to be for this. The Republicans, don't you guys believe in Republican rule? Don't you believe in state autonomy, states' rights? Now you're against it because those states can take that upon themselves?
Joe Biden himself forcing masks and vax on millions of Americans. This is what we told you last week. Pfizer now urging the FDA
Pfizer asks FDA to expand the use of COVID vaccine to kids under 5. Okay.
expand eligibility for kids under 5. That's right. They want to put this stuff in kids that are like 4 or 5 months old and up. It's sick. Shock.
Well, one would argue so is wanting them to die from an easily preventable disease because you smoke QAnon.
There are some, not all, but some liberal governors who are beginning to lift mandates. And why wouldn't they? If you're following the science, stuff we've shown you on this.
Well, the Omicron variant is different from the Delta and from the Alpha and the wild type. And so time moves forward. So you fuckers can't go, see, we've been telling you this whole time. Look, I told you, walk across the street. Now that the light changes, now you're going to cross the fucking street. That's the argument we're seeing here. Oh, you're going to wait for the crosswalk sign to change before you walk? I say walk across and, at rush hour when everybody's zipping by and I'm the asshole. I see.
Time and time again. Think about it. You'd know masks don't work. The lockdown didn't work. We told you that. Johns Hopkins.
Yeah, yes, they did. Yes, they do.
Report. New Jersey Democrat Governor Phil Murphy says he's going to lift the state's mask mandate very soon. Murphy said he's going to lift it for public schools, all the students, second week of March. Great news. Hey, California, why don't you do the same? Michigan, all these.
Well, they are. They're going to over the next few weeks because it's factually changed. The volume of people who've gotten vaccinated lowers the number of people who will carry a more virulent version. You won't carry the Delta around, even though Omicron snuck by. The rest of them aren't going to wipe you out, and they know this. So,
states, get to it. Joining me now to discuss the state of the pandemic, which in my mind should.
By the way, just for the record, I got tested again today because we got to test before we get on the boat tomorrow, and I'm negative. I have never gotten COVID. It's official. Even the cough gunk that I had, nah, just fucking some flu something. Nope, no COVID. Never got it.
What's called the final phase. But of course, Fauci saying we've got 4 or 5 more phases of the pandemic. Is the former COVID task force.
Plandemic. That's going to squeak by. He's just going to throw the word plandemic out there like it's saying MSDNC and not recognize that plandemic means that it was done on purpose. Now, when it all started, Trump was in charge. And if it was a plan, he was obviously in on it. He'd have to be. And if it wasn't him, then he's arguing that the Chinese did this on purpose, that they created a bioweapon and released it, in which case Trump was president when America was attacked with a bioweapon and hundreds of thousands of people died, and he dragged ass on responding to it so he could get a trade deal done with the people who sent it here. I don't know why we're picking on Chamberlain anymore.
Advisor under President Trump and the author of a brand new book, A Plague Upon Our House, My Fight at the Trump White House to Stop COVID from Destroying America. Let's welcome back to the.
Why would you worry about a hoax destroying America? I don't know.
I'm Dr. Scott Atlas.
Thanks, Anita.
Doc, welcome back. The book's got a great title.
Not too far off. I had to shoot this in a hurry. Even during a fucking pandemic, I've seen worse wigs on SNL. I had to go down to Star Costume and buy that wig. I'll have you know, that was for Sexy Liberal.
I wish your team and Trump's team were still in there right now, because I have a feeling we wouldn't be in the state we are in today when it comes to our economy.
No, it would be far fucking worse.
Our children are going through when it comes to these overreaching mandates, which should have been gotten rid of long.
He has no control over it, fucko. Scott Atlas and Trump would have no control whatsoever. Oh, my ring light blinked for a second. Yes, Lord. They'd have no, he couldn't do anything about it. If states were worried and they were concerned about their constituents and didn't want, I don't know why, but didn't want their future voters to be dead, and they wanted a mask mandate or a vaccine mandate to do that, the federal government wouldn't have any ability to stop them from doing that within the state. Maybe you'll say that.
Ago.
Yeah,
do you agree with any of that assessment?
Well, of course. In fact, the man.
Well, of course. That's why I'm on Newsmax right now. Or is this Newsmax or is this RAV? Yeah, Real America's Voice. This is the same OAN. That's right. The people that carry Bannon's show
Should never have been in place to begin with. I mean, the vaccine mandates. There's two issues. One is, of course, the civil liberties issue, but the medical basis of having a vaccine mandate is really it's just not there. And I'll tell you why.
I'll tell you why. Look at polio, for example. Midnight.
95% plus of high-risk people in the U.S. have been vaccinated. So I'm not.
Yeah. When were they vaccinated? Under which administration? Which administration actually rolled out a plan to fucking do it? And that 5% of the people who are in big trouble, if they get it, who aren't vaccinated, who are gacking up the hospitals all over the place, who did they vote for? Scott?
What they're talking about. Why would you mandate a vaccine for people who don't need the vaccine? I mean, that's
because you can't determine who needs them and who needs it and who doesn't. Just because you're more likely to get in trouble if you have comorbidities, that hasn't stopped a bunch of healthy people from dying from it, fucko.
Contraindicated. In fact, that's against medical principles. It's also unethical to mandate.
No, it is not.
Force or even give a vaccine to a child who does not have a significant risk from the illness.
Determine significant risk.
Itself. I mean, if you take
yes, an excellent point. Scott Atlas is a radiologist.
Data, which the people keep saying the science,
yes.
but they keep denying and not looking at the data. I mean, the data shows and we've known this now for almost 2 years. This is not learned over the past months. Almost 2 years now, we know that healthy children have extremely low risk from COVID and nearly zero.
Yeah, primarily from the alpha type. And then Omicron started hitting a bunch of them because it was young people were more susceptible to it because it advanced. And the Omicron tended to be less damaging to adults, for example, but statistically more damaging to children. And how do you know the next variant won't follow along those lines? And you don't have to worry about it if they've been vaccinated. They might get the sniffles, but they're not going to die. Fucking hell.
Anything serious. And so you don't inject a child for a disease with a vaccine against a disease that they don't have a significant risk from. Not only that.
Again, define significant risk. Because in a lot of cases, it's a fucking crapshoot. It's a coin flip. It might look like you're fine, and then it kills you. That's significant risk because you don't know who you're going to catch it from, and it's spreading asymptomatically. That's a significant risk.
Of course, the vaccines are experimental drugs. I mean, why do we say that? Because safety.
Let me put it in terms that maybe these assholes can understand. They don't believe that you're under significant risk from people with guns. That most people with guns are law-abiding. Americans, they're just following the Constitution. They got a God-given right to carry a gun. And yet nobody can carry one on a fucking plane. Because we're not going to just trust you to be responsible with a gun on a fucking plane. Because if you fire it, even if you're doing a good job and you blow out one of the windows, you can kill everybody on the fucking plane. Moron. So we make specific limitations on those kind of things. Now, what are the odds that the average person who brought a gun on a plane would misfire it randomly? What? Same number of kids dead from COVID? But you're going to allow that to happen more often and therefore raise the number of possibilities?
On a vaccine typically takes 5 years to compile.
Right.
Obviously, we don't have that.
8 months.
So you're taking a child.
Wait a minute. Excuse you. For fuck's sake, Trump was the one bragging about all this shit. because of Operation Warp Speed.
Captain's log.
And injecting them for protection against an illness that they don't have a significant risk from if they're healthy. So the only
All right, if they're healthy. What number of kids are healthy? Which in percentage in the United States? You're going to look at just obesity rates? We're going to only vaccinate obese kids? What if you only do the obese kids because they've got a clear comorbidity, and a couple of them because they're not morbidly obese, or they actually got slightly more protection because their body's resilient against it. Meanwhile, a skinny kid dies because you're like, well, you were skinny. I thought you'd be fine.
other reason you might consider it is if you want to use healthy children as a shield for adults. That is not just immoral, that breaks all conduct that is ethical from doctors.
Shh, don't tell the teachers' unions that, Doc. Don't tell the teachers' unions that, because that's all they spew is, we got to protect our...
Yeah, it's not just the teachers. It's the parents. It's the grandparents. What 8-year-old wants to go, yeah, we could have gotten you vaccinated, but we didn't, and you brought home the disease that killed grandma. I did? Yeah. How'd you let that happen? Well, you have the freedom to do that. You know, we believed in your freedom, so we decided not to vaccinate you. Why? Was it going to hurt me? I don't know. But grandma's dead. Yeah, well, that's your fault.
Teachers, the educators can get sick from the kids, so put the masks on. Yeah. And we see all these damn pictures of Democrats with no masks in a classroom with kids with their masks on. Yeah. I'm sick of it.
But it's not...
You mean one?
It's not just the hypocrisy, really. When you look at the data, it's already proven a year and a half plus ago that the teachers do not have any higher risk than people outside of school.
Yeah, but that's also before Delta and before Omicron. In the beginning of a disease where they were like, yeah, it's fine. Just fine. Fuck it. Let's go. It's just fine. No. It's going to ruin the stock market. Let's get going.
Do not spread as frequently as adults.
Also, where the fuck is this dude? Is he at a photo shoot? He's got a stack of clothes over there. He was sneaking into someone's hotel room, ransacking their room, and decided to do a Skype call.
And so the fact of the matter is that if you wanted to design a low-risk job, you'd want to be a teacher. Okay, so these teachers are either too...
That's because of the wild type and the alpha variant didn't pass through kids very much. The Omicron did. And if there hadn't been a vaccine, if the teachers themselves largely hadn't been vaccinated, Omicron or a variant near to it, like Mu or especially Delta, could have gotten to them through children. Fucking hell.
Or they're liars.
They don't even try.
There's no in between.
Wow. Good for you. I love you just spitting truth. That's what this show's about. All right, Scott, thank you.
More like gagging on truth.
Where do we find the book, and tell us about it? What are we going to experience if we...
COVID Hysteria Unveiled. Again, this dude was one of the people in charge of the fucking thing.
A plague upon our house.
Sure. I mean, there's really the book.
Yeah, I decided to use a biblical title as a man of science because I knew I'd sell more books to morons.
It's written for 3 reasons. One is really to set the record straight about what happened in the White House and in the task force, some of whom these people are still in charge of our health policy. It's a disaster because they weren't prepared scientifically. They weren't looking at the data. They weren't
prepared? Why weren't they prepared? I mean, I thought, I'd always heard that Obama had put together a pandemic response team. They weren't prepared? Why weren't they prepared? We had a pandemic response team. Did something happen to the pandemic response team? I've got to go read. Seriously.
Thinking like scientists, and I think Americans need to know so we don't have this kind of low-level bureaucrat in charge and posing like an expert.
You mean like you?
Secondly, we needed to set
By the way, Trump hired this fucker because he was a naysayer on Fox News.
Straight on the facts without the lens of politics and without the filter of the media, without the censorship that we thought we would never see in the United States.
Tell him, Danny Balls. Tell him, Danny Balls. Yeah, thank you. Censorship, media, politics. other deep state, other buzzwords. Yeah, cancel
Sudden,
culture.
we're not a free country. Journalism
CRT, critical Regeneron therapy.
failed
Stop
the
it.
American public, and the book is not subject to censorship unless it's blocked from being sold, which right now it's available on Amazon and everywhere else.
Oh, you mean the big tech companies that have it out for conservatives?
Books are available. I think people need to read this if they want to read the truth. If you're afraid,
Yeah, I don't need to read this. And I'm not afraid to read it. It's a waste of fucking time. It's basically going to be a printed up version of his interviews about this subject in the spring of fucking 2020.
the truth, don't buy the book.
There you go. Dr. Scott Atlas, thank you so much. The book, again, is A Plague Upon Our House, My Fight at the Trump White House to Stop COVID from Destroying America. As always, a pleasure. Thank you, Doc. See you later.
Thanks, sir.
And it's weird because COVID has not destroyed America. As a matter of fact, the American economy and the American worker are far and ahead, doing better than the rest of the world. Even with the inflation we're experiencing, even with with energy prices and used car prices making, inflating inflation beyond what they genuinely are. Even with all that, we're doing so much better than the rest of the world, as economically especially, but even as a country functionally. So, and oddly enough, you were there and things were going to shit, and then you left and things started getting better. So, all right. No, we don't burn the book. There's you have to buy a copy to burn it. Real America, talking to somebody now.